Hello.
Hello.
And welcome to, well, gee, Kyle, what exactly are we now? We were Let Your Geek Flag Fly.
We're rebranding. We're going not really a completely different direction, but a new name and a new aesthetic.
With a heartfelt source.
It is. It's a pivotal piece of our past and something near and dear to our hearts. And actually, the story how we actually met.
Exactly. So what it comes down to is we're no longer Let Your Geek Flag Fly.
Nope. That has come to an end.
Flag to rest. It is now like a phoenix being resurrected into the Blockbuster dudes.
Because that's what we are. Blockbuster dudes.
Literally.
Absolutely.
And what we mean by that is we used to work there. When it existed.
Absolutely.
And as you said, that's how we met.
It is how we met.
That's where our story began. So it's literally, we say it's heartfelt. It really is. I'm sorry. That was one of the best times of my life was working in there.
It really was. I enjoyed it. Still my favorite job I ever had.
But no, what kind of brought it up, I brought it up to Kyle because, this past Halloween, my daughter was going as big as the cat from, we know Hocus Pocus with the new sequel and everything. Obviously, she had to do that.
Of course.
So she asked if I would dress up. I was like, yeah, sure. And I just didn't know what to go as because I've done like this. I'm a horror fan, so Halloween's like my jam. Well, I was going through my closet, seeing what old costumes can I wear again that, still fit. And strangely enough.
Actually, hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Just when you say still fit, it's actually a good thing because they're probably all too big now.
This is true. I have lost a lot of weight. So that's a good, I'll take it. I used to be a bad thing. Now
it's a positive thing. That's what I'm telling you, man.
20 pounds down. Hell yeah.
Hey, man, that's great.
I'll take it in a heartbeat. So I'm in the closet and I see this royal blue polo shirt. And I'm like, wait a minute. I look closer and yes, I see yellow trim. A yellow collar and yellow trim on the sleeves. And I'm like, can it be? And it was.
It can.
It was my Blockbuster shirt. Okay. Now,
God, we had to wear them all the
time. Yeah, dude. That's like look. It
that's
became
one
a
of the things. Just to be fair, that's actually one of the things I don't miss so much. Like it's iconic now to think about. Yeah. Definitely nostalgic. But I don't miss wearing the uniform.
I'm not gonna say I miss it, but I will say that for the longest time, it was a second skin.
It was. It was a part of us.
How many times working, open to close, what we call the Iron Man shift?
Absolutely.
How many times that, we closed and opened the next day and maybe we didn't necessarily go home overnight because
that happened often.
Hung out and it's like, oh crap, I got to be working in 30 minutes. So
I remember those days well.
Yeah, a lot of times. But so I find the shirt and I had, I have big khakis, khakis are khakis. So I have them, put them together. And I actually have the, that Blockbuster video trivia game that comes with like an old, I'm going to use a word that a lot of you who are not Blockbuster alumni won't know, called an amaret, which is just another word of saying the plastic case that the VHS cassette came in. But they had they have all these trivia games, and this one was a family trivia game, Blockbuster game, where it was in the case of an amaret, so it was supposed to look like a VHS. So I took that as a little prop.
Hey, I have it too. I get it.
See, there we go. I also have its two sequels. It's called Blockbuster and Chill.
Okay, you've one up me. Well done.
There we go. So I used an amaret, and I'd actually just ordered because I thought it would be cool. They actually had Blockbuster lanyards like on Amazon, so I ordered it, and they came in a few days before, so I put it all together, and so we're going with my daughter trick or treating in her friend's neighborhood. And I'm just a Blockbuster guy. And I'll be damned, I'm getting compliments and everything from not just the parents of, the kids, because either they remember Blockbuster when they were really young, or they're a little bit older parents, or they, were adults in the time. But even teenagers were like, dude, like one teacher would be like, what's Blockbuster? And then the other group of teenagers answered for me. They're like, oh, it's this cool place that you could get to go and rent movies. My mom and dad talk about it all the time. They say it was like an awesome hangout, this and that. And then they asked the question, dude, where'd you get your costume? Amazon? I'm like, well, it's not a costume. And they're like, what do you mean?
It's the real thing. It's legit.
Vintage. This is a vintage shirt. As in, I used to work there when I was a teen.
Yeah.
And, now here's
in early 20s.
The early 20s. Now, for a lot of the Blockbuster alum that came after the shirts existed, a lot of people don't remember what the original uniform actually was. The original uniform was not that polo. They graduated to that. Mm-hmm. The original uniform, which you had to buy on your own, mm-hmm. was an Oxford blue button-down shirt mm-hmm. with the khakis. The khakis were always there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a basic Oxford blue shirt, and then you'd have your Blockbuster name tag. You would just put it in there.
Yep.
And then I think it was in '97 97, 98, where the blue polos.
It was right after I started, actually.
So it was 97 that happened, because I just went to the.
And when was it you started again?
Well, yes, that's what we're going to start with here. So, being that Blockbuster, we're rebranding this to the Blockbuster Dudes, because we are Blockbuster Dudes, because oftentimes that's what we were referred to. Anytime that someone, a customer from our store, saw us outside the store,
hey, there's the Blockbuster Dude.
Hey, it's the Blockbuster Dude. So
absolutely.
So I started there first.
Yes, you did.
Brother Kyle here did. It was a nice sunny, hot summer, June 28th, 1996. And yes, why do I know that? No, it's not because I'm anal retentive. It's actually because to work at Blockbuster, you had to be at least 17, because part of working there is you have to have an account. That's how you clock in and clock out. Well, you have to be 17 because you have to be able to rent R-rated movies by yourself. So with that being the case, I go in a few days before my birthday as a customer. And a young lady, her name was Sabrina, a very cool person. Her and I, like I said, not that we weren't friends or anything, but like, because I came in so often, I was a regular, so we'd often talk about movies and stuff. So this one day, she asked me, she goes, "I'm gonna ask you questions." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Were you in movies? And have you been in a movie before?" And I'm like, "No." She goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You would tell me, right?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I would tell you." And I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "Because for the longest time."
Can I say it? Go
ahead.
She thought you were Goldberg the goalie from Mighty Ducks.
Which I cannot lie. At the time the movie came out, the actor that plays Goldberg and I looked a lot alike. Unlike his recent rediscovery. But he's getting better now, so I'm good with that. But yeah, point is, at the time I looked like Goldberg, and because of that started the conversations between me and Sabrina. And then she's like, "You work anywhere?" I'm like, "No." I was 16 at the time. And she goes, "You need to work here." I'm like, "I'd love to." She's like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 16." She goes, "You got to be 17." I'm like, "Well, I turned 17 in like 2 days." She goes, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." So she goes, "Okay, fill out the application." We dated the application the day after my birthday. And then I interviewed with her the day before my birthday to get the official set out of the way. And then I started at Blockbuster the day after my 17th birthday, so June 28th. And I'm working there, and it's a 4-hour shift. And, I've got the blues, and I'm nervous as all hell, because this is my first, it's not just my first time working at Blockbuster. This is my first job ever. I never had a job. So I'm nervous. I'm here checking people out. I'm having to figure out the late fee stuff, how, when you're supposed to return stuff. And this is when it was just basic. Look, there was no 2-day, 5-day, overnight. It was 3 days technically. So if you rent it today, and today, let's say, is Sunday, the movie will be due back on Tuesday before midnight. Simple as that. And the cost of the rental was $2.99, but with tax and everything, what came out, I still remember $3.12 for one movie. That's what it was.
You remember some things completely differently than I do, exactly. But we'll get to that in a minute.
But
go ahead.
See, but that's the beauty, because this channel, with what we're doing, is we're obviously going to be talking about movies and stuff that came out and whatnot, but also we're going to be telling you about what kind of time frame was going on, what was happening in the world when these movies came out.
Yeah,
so it kind of puts you
and some of the experiences that go along with it, dealing with the customer bases and or just working in a video store at the time.
Exactly,
absolutely.
So I'm here doing my shift and doing my thing, and I'm nervous. I mean, it flew by. Everybody was kind. The customers were, it was, some of them I already knew, because I would be waiting there Friday night to get that movie that just came out Tuesday that everybody wants to get, and that was like a thing. That was like a rite of passage. Okay, that was a Blockbuster thing. On a Friday and Saturday night, you would have a number of people waiting in line to get the next copy of whatever the hot release was. We had to have a little piece of paper with a list, and oh my God, people watch the Dropbox. Like, "Hey man, check the Dropbox. And those of you who used to work at Blockbuster, you feel what we're talking about.
Oh yeah,
check the Dropbox, like, dude.
You couldn't leave the Dropbox if you were over in that area. You had to man it, because somebody's looking for something and they wanted it that bad that they were going to ask you to look anytime somebody opened the slot, whether they dropped a movie in or not. Exactly. You got to check.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the cool thing about that is, like, so the Oxford Blue, I only got to wear for like a week because 1996 was the Summer Olympics in Atlanta.
Right.
So we got a special edition T-shirt that we had to wear throughout the summer. So we got that shirt at least. It was a white T-shirt.
I missed that one.
It was a comfortable shirt. And for that summer, for the Olympics, we ended up extending our hours to 1 a.m. And since midnight, we extended by 1 hour for whatever reason. But no, I worked in the Riverdale store, Riverdale, Georgia, and just to show how much of my, how much I miss my store, my Riverdale store, the store prefix code 13012, or, and this one's going really far back, BS. The older stores had a
BS number,
a BS number, or in your store's case, it was N7. but it was a 2-digit code that represented the 4 or 5-digit prefix. So at Riverdale was 13012. Also BS. So I could put BS in my last 5 of my account number, which is my employee number, and it would bring my account up at any store. Or I could type in 213-213-012-000, whatever the number was.
And do you remember mine?
I think you steal it.
No.
Because people would steal like old numbers.
No, not that. Do you remember the store number?
Yeah. N7 was 13023.
Yes, 13023. That was
Georgia.
it. Absolutely.
And my other main store, Lovejoy, was 13145.
And they did go sequential, so you could tell which store was older and everything like that. Yes. So yeah, that was definitely a thing.
That's how I came to be.
Yeah. Now for me, a little bit different. Is a little bit later than that. This is early '97, and I had my best friend at the time was a woman named Amber, and she ended up working at the Riverdale store with you.
See.
And the manager that had hired her there, his name was Carrie Looney. If you're out there, we're talking about you, bud. He hired her, and there was some change going on in transition happening at the Jonesboro location. So Carrie was overseeing the managers there until they opened the Lovejoy store, because that's what he was taking over.
Correct.
So I was trying to get on at Blockbuster at the time because I wanted to work there, and my best friend worked there. Why not? So I didn't get hired at the Riverdale store. He hired me for the Jonesboro store. And Amber brought me in, introduced me to him. And so we were talking, and he's sitting there going, what's your name again? And like, my name's Kyle. Okay. Where are you from? I said, I'm from here. I was like, I've lived here since 1982, and he's like, okay. He goes, well, she speaks for you, she vouched for me. So that was a big thing. And then his other thing that he thought, as he looked at me, he goes, you remind me of Lane Stanley, the lead singer of Alice in Chains. I don't know where he got that from, because I did not look like Lane Stanley at all. Not even a little bit. I wasn't that thin. I didn't have blonde hair. I don't know. I've never had anybody else in my life ever say that. So I don't know where that came from, but that was a thing for him. And that was all he needed to say, welcome to the team.
Yep.
And so join the team I did. And then because you worked at the store with Amber.
Yep.
So you knew Amber, and she was kind of the link between us.
Yes.
And then there was another couple links, because there was people at the Jonesboro store that you knew and met through various means.
Yeah. This is
well,
true.
I'm sure we'll get to those eventually.
I'm sure there's no way I can avoid this.
But so what it led to was, one of the things that would happen is, after the store closing, in between the two stores, there's actually an IHOP, 24/7 IHOP.
Yes.
And so after closing it after midnight, you'd usually out of there about 12:30.
Give or take, yeah.
Several of us would go meet at IHOP. So I wasn't working one night, but Amber said, hey, why don't you come with us? So I did. This was my first time going with them. It was shortly after being hired. And so we met at the Riverdale store, because that's where she worked with you guys.
Yep.
And sure enough, you were there. She obviously was there. And then the other part of the three amigos that we all became was Norco, R.I.P. brother.
Yes, brother.
But that was how it started. That's how we got introduced to one another.
Yep.
Now, as we mentioned, there were some other stories that were going along during that time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you go into those. I'm not going to step on your toes with that. But let's just say he had a nickname at the time. He was known as the Blockbuster guy.
The Riverdale
Blockbuster guy.
Yeah.
All right. And I knew that story for a very specific reason, because one of the other women that worked at Jonesboro with me, I had gone to high school with, and I'd heard the stories. But this isn't my story to tell, so I'm going to hand it back off to you, sir, and you go ahead and take it away.
That's
the Riverdale guy.
The Riverdale guy story, that might be a story we have to grow into. But, it's a story of drama, a story of emotion, and a giant-ass Pooh Bear.
And the Pooh Bear was the cue to me to go, oh, you're that guy.
Yes, it was.
And that was how we got introduced. That's how we met. And I don't want to say the rest is history, but it really has kind of just gone on since then. We've been, me and you, and then Norco, and for that time, Amber, we were all tied together. The four of us were always together. We always did stuff like every weekend we would go into the movies and stuff like that. We would hang out, especially if we weren't working. And little bit time after that, as Amber went into school and stuff, she ended up leaving Blockbuster. But
sad.
me, you, and Norco still remained friends.
Oh, yeah.
And for the longest time, we were doing all kinds of things together. But like I said, it's a very memorable time. So many stories.
Oh, yeah. And
but,
there was something special about that, though, because even though we're talking about our experiences, what we're talking about is mirrored amongst a bulk of, like, anybody that I've met that used to work at a Blockbuster. It was the same type of experience, maybe not the exact same stories, Pooh Bears, but but that closeness that we made lifelong friends, like we said. So by the time I met him, it was 1997. It's 2024. That's 27 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
We met from different stores through, like, a friend of a friend kind of thing, through Amber.
All right.
And now 27 years later, we're here talking about it. And like I said, there's so many different things of hijinks, so many lifelong friendships that happen. Some friendships go by the way. That happens, But like I said, it's just some of these friendships were ones that even if I don't see them, those friendships where you don't see them in a while and then you see them after a few years, but you pick up like nothing, like no time is there. A lot of friendships like that sparked from Blockbuster for many people. So it's it's an institution that it will not be forgotten.
But see, the other thing, like you said, there's so many stories. Again, if you've worked at Blockbuster, you're going to relate to a lot of this stuff because you had similar experiences.
Yep.
You're going to hear stories of dealing with customers because when you deal with the public like that, you always have great stories. You're going to hear about doing inventory and all those shenanigans that go along with that. You're going to hear about, you've kind of touched on some of the relationships that are started and formed and developed, and some of them obviously became romantic in nature, others not as much, or just funny and just generally interesting. But
or there was a bear involved.
You can keep going there. It's all right.
That's okay.
But but that's the thing, though, is it's those stories and it's that time period that unite the people who were able to experience that, especially those that work there. You can relate to it. You'll get it. You're going to have those similar stories. You'll be able to go, I had experience just like that, or my customer did this, or the person I worked with was doing this and this, and then this happened.
Yep.
You'll have those moments, and it's those moments that are gold, man. It's fantastic, and those are the moments that, to me, it's those moments that stick out. Those are the things that make it so memorable and so enjoyable, not just to look back on it, but while I was going through it, while I was experiencing, I loved what I did.
Oh yeah,
I really did. It wasn't about the money. It was still work. There was plenty of things that annoyed you, but it was fun. It was a fun job. Whether you can talk about creating dummy accounts. Again, just all the changes that happened throughout the years. Making room on inventory walls. Oh, geez. Yeah.
The new release wall. Every Monday night, or Monday during the day and night, we had to make space on the release wall, which, just a wall like this, but had VHS cassettes. You might have a total, here's an example. Alien 3 came out, right? They had over 100 copies of that thing. So you'd have one full, what's called bay, which is, top to bottom. How many feet wide would you say one of the bays were on the release wall back then?
Probably about 4 or 5 wide.
And you'd have
but it was like 8 feet tall.
Yeah. And you'd have, the whole wall was nothing but copies of it. So you'd have the art box, the cover box, with anywhere from 2 to 3 back copies behind it.
Yep.
And, you'd get that, and then everything was empty. And the customers would walk up, say, hey, do you have any copies of this movie in? They checked the wall, it wasn't there. We look it up, it was like, no, there's none in. There's 15 due back today. Like when? Before midnight. And so, these people would stay, the people would stay waiting for it. And if it was a slow night, you pretty much made a friend. Because now, what are the movies would be like that? You get into the movie conversation. That's another thing too. People who didn't work there, even the customers, that was an experience because you actually got to interact with a stranger and be like, hey, this is the movie I'm waiting for, but what do you suggest? Look, if you're waiting for that, we would say, hey, you're gonna like this, you're gonna like that. Or we get asking, they'd tell us, oh, I saw this movie, you should check it out, this and that. How many people's the first time they watched, whether it's Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Indecent Proposal. Well, everybody's like, what's that? The reason that comes up is because we recently just talked about the fact that back in those days, I wouldn't say special movies, but certain movies had a special release where, Indecent Proposal was something to do with money, with a proposal.
So the cassettes were green.
Or you also had the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze, which is a good one to watch. Also with Demi Moore, ironically. The casing of it was white.
Yep.
Then you had Halloween when they re-released the original Halloween. So many variants of that. So many limited edition variants on VHS alone. But the cassette would oftentimes become orange, for a pumpkin.
The Nickelodeon releases like Good Burger was orange.
Dude, you look good. Okay. We're there, so we got to go here. So a lot of fun instances would happen that the general public would never know, but we do.
More stories that will come up along the way.
But this is going to be the ones, I got to go into this one real fast.
Okay, do it.
So since you mentioned Nickelodeon and Good Burger, Nickelodeon Good Burger, same thing. Cassette was orange because Nickelodeon orange is one of their main colors.
It is.
For branding. So it is, I can't remember if it was the day before or if it was like the few days before, like the week, the release week.
It was only like a day or two before.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't a lot. It was very, very short window.
Okay, yes. So we had already made space on the wall for it. And we get this email. Well, we don't get the email. An email went to district management, who then contacted the store managers, who then called us at the store.
Right.
So, Carrier Larry, depending on who you worked at, we get the phone call. He's like, wait, really? But why? Okay, click. So
how'd that go again? Okay, cool.
So then, I have to go tell the manager on duty, is like, hey, Carrier Larry just called, and he says that we have to field destroy every copy of Good Burger.
And by field destroy, he does literally mean destroy it.
Yeah, we literally have to get every copy of it, take it out of its array, and take a hammer and destroy it and trash it.
Yep.
Okay. And we didn't understand why. And we're here calling, our sister stores, Jonesboro, whatnot. I'm like, hey, did you guys get the directive to do this? We're like, yeah. He goes, do you know why? And one of the guys at the other store said, well, I heard there's something with a trailer, one of the trailers before the movie. So with the VHS, you pop it in, you'd get a trailer or 2 or 3 of movies coming out by the same
before it would start,
company,
right?
Before the start, as an average, that's basic. But there was something wrong with one of the trailers. That's all we were told.
That's all we were told.
Naturally, we did what any curious teenager would do. We went to the back, popped a copy of it in the VHS in the back, and
see, we didn't do that. We didn't go to the back. We just did it right there in the store.
Well, we knew there was something wrong with it, so we weren't going to play it over the trailer tapes at the store where everybody could see it. So we go to the back. We were a little smarter. No, we go to the back and we put it in, and we quickly realized what the problem was. And it wasn't one trailer. Every single trailer on that cassette was for R-rated films, and that's not the biggest thing. Okay, you can, an R-rated movie trailer is what it
still
is.
Preview.
But back then, and they still have them now, like on YouTube and stuff. They have the infamous Red Band trailer, which is you actually get an R-rated version of the R-rated movie trailer.
Right, you'll get the language, violence, etc. Yeah.
So, insult to injury, it wasn't just that it was a kids VHS with R-rated movie trailers. It was the Red Band R-rated movie trailers. At least it was like 3 or 4 movies at least.
Yep.
And so we're here cracking up because it's like, wow, who in the editing and distribution of this screwed up so bad that they didn't put just 1, 2, 3, or 3.
Did they screw up though, or did they do it on purpose?
Yeah,
because that's a pretty big one. I'm just saying.
Disney, Fight Club, what? Anyway, I won't leave that there. But no, so we had to field destroy that. But that's that's just one example of some of the stories we have. And like I said, it's what we're going to be talking about is not just stories about Blockbuster. It'll weigh in heavy, but it's also we're going to be talking about movies. That's just like in our original Let Your Geek Fly, we'll still be talking about those movies. Back in the day, old movies like The See New Today, and even comparing 2 new movies today. All that is still up here. We're still going to be going to conventions, still be going to. Hell, maybe we need to go visit some old Blockbuster stores and shed a little tear here and there.
We could definitely do that.
Yeah,
but like you said, though, the thing that's really interesting about that, though, is we are going to be talking about this stuff, but it's the same kind of conversations we would have back then.
Exactly.
And again, that's where it all ties in. It's none of that has really changed. It's a part of that. It's a part of us. It's who we are. And, hence the branding, the Blockbuster dudes, because we're Blockbuster dudes, and that's a huge part of our life, and it has influenced us and made us who we are today. And a lot of the topics we discussed, the movies we like, all of that came from that time period.
Yeah, we still, I'm doing with my kids what I would do with customers back then, which is
as am I.
My teenage sons and your sons, your kids as well. They're asking about, they knew we used to work at Blockbuster. They know we're also doing, we do stuff with film here and there, but they're like, hey, what kind of movies is this? Have you ever heard of this old movie? And of course
we have.
Have I heard of it? Please. My God. It's like, hey, was this really old movie with this guy with knives for fingers? And I'm like, really, kid? You're asking me, of all people, the horror fanatic, about an old horror movie with a guy with knives for fingers? Obviously not right on the street, but we conversations like that. Actually, we we have a promise to keep, Kyle.
We do.
And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm nervous about it because one of the things that we're going to be talking about is how movies were received back then, and how they've changed over time, or how they would have changed by today's standards. Because like I said, the world was different back then. So that's also why we're going to be talking about not just like movies and when they came out, but what was happening in the world when these movies came out. So
Absolutely.
you understand the mindset of the people who are watching the movies and like us renting the movies out.
Yeah.
But, the promise we have to keep is they last year went with me.
Hold on, you got to clarify who is they. You got to let them know who they
It's
is.
my son and his girlfriend. Okay, so they went with me to a convention last year called Days of the Dead, which is actually upcoming later this month, and I will be there in my Blockbuster dude suit. So if you see me, come say hi.
That is pretty horrid to think about. Just saying.
I know, bro.
It's a terror show.
It is not. Look. I'm going to be going around trying to find all the horror monsters and put them in my Amaray, Ghostbusters, Blockbuster style. Anyway, while we were there, I saw an old movie director who's still doing stuff and, still awesome as hell, very witty to talk to. His name is Lloyd Kaufman.
Trauma Films.
So I got an autographed copy of Tromeo and Juliet and a picture with him holding said autographed copy.
Yeah.
Well, my son's like, Dad, who is that guy? I go, and I'm like, well, and before I can say anything, he goes, isn't he in Guardians of the Galaxy? Which actually he does have a cameo in it. He's one of the prison guys like raging on something at the beginning of the first movie. But anyway, he's like, what's trauma?
Oh boy. That's Pandora's box if I ever heard it.
Oh my dear God, it is. So I explained to him what trauma movies were. And, gave him some titles as food for thought to understand what kind of movies these are. So, you had Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD. You had, obviously,
Toxic Avenger,
the franchise.
Yep.
And you had Tromeo and Juliet. You also had one that I'm like, I have no idea. They want to watch these movies. This is the part where it's funny. So we promised them we would watch with them the Toxic Avenger, and I'm like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be very interesting because it's one of those, it's a Toxic Avenger. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So imagine
if
trying to watch.
You know.
If you know, you know. And the idea of watching that with my 17-year-old son and his girlfriend is kind of like, is this going to change his opinion of us? Kind of thing.
No, not at all.
And of course, wait. It's not the best trauma movie, but I forgot the one that's got the most kick-ass name, though.
Which one?
Surf Nazis Must Die.
Yeah. Class of Nukem High.
Class of Nukem High. Yeah.
Like I said, we could be here all day naming them off.
Trauma is a... What was it? There was one of them. There was, good Lord, one of them. God, there were so many.
Terror Firmer.
Oh, God, Lord. Now, Cannibal the musical.
That was the introduction to Matt Stone and Trey Parker.
A.K.A. the creators of South Park, for those who don't know. You should know, but you might not.
Yep.
I still can't believe that show was on. But no, this things like this we're going to be talking about, and we may even probably have reaction videos.
We have to have something.
Stuff. Exactly. So this is just a taste of what's going to come. We just want to give you guys a heads up on it. So be sure to check back with us. This will be on a new separate channel called The Blockbuster Dudes. You'll be seeing a picture right now. If you look it up, you'll see just a picture of me in my Blockbuster armor. We're working
That's
on
right.
this one.
Yep.
So
everything's still in progress.
But no, as before, subscribe, like, enjoy it. Most importantly, give us stuff you want us to talk about. Give movies that bring.
Tell
back
us what you got.
Exactly.
Tell us movies you want us to talk about or experiences from that time period. Anything at all. Throw it out there to us. Let's interact together.
Yeah.
Let's make this as fun as possible.
Or even better, even past, including in that is, if you guys are having a hard time remembering a movie, throw us what you got. We'll see if we can remember it. We'll see if we can figure it out and hook you up with it. As far as like at least the name of it, because yes, working at a video store. This is true that what gets used as memes or whatever today, the whole thing of, hey, you got that movie with that guy that was in that other movie last year? Yes, we speak that language. And yes, we had to go off of that request and be like, oh, you're looking for Navy SEALs.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're referencing Clerks right now, but that's actually legit conversations. I mean, that was more accurate than anything I've ever seen. It was fantastic. Yeah. But no, like you said, it's those experiences. Let's do that. And as always, let's make it a Blockbuster night.
Wow. What a difference.